there are mothers who nurture life, and mothers who end it. In moments of despair, delusion, or blind obedience, a mother can become the deadliest force her child will ever face. One woman carried her children to the edge of a railway platform and let a 100-mile-an-hour train decide their fate. Another led her young sons into the backyard, laid their heads against cold stone and brought jagged rocks down.
I just killed my boys.
You hit your boys with a rock?
Yes.
With a force that shattered bone and silenced breath. And one mother placed her newborn behind the wheel of her car, letting the rolling weight of the vehicle collapse the tiny, fragile skull beneath it. 3 women, 3 homes, 3 nights where reason collapsed, and innocence was destroyed under unstoppable force. When a mother becomes the instrument of destruction, no nightmare compares. Our journey begins not in the shadows, but on a crowded West London platform, where the roar of a Heathrow-bound train becomes the backdrop to a mother's fatal final step. The tragedy of Navjeet Sidhu. Navjeet Sidhu grew up in Southall, London, a young woman who once seemed confident, capable, and full of life. By 1998, she had landed a job as a receptionist at Sunrise Radio, where colleagues remembered her as assertive and cheerful. That same year, she entered an arranged marriage with Navjet Sidhu, a man born in India. Over time, the couple moved into a modest home in Greenford, West London, together with their daughter and later their son. In 2003, Navjeet gave birth to her second child, Aman Raj, but it is here the facade of normality began to fracture. According to friends and neighbors, the arrival of her son marked a turning point, after which Navjeet never really recovered. By 2004, she had left her job and become a full-time housewife. She strove to be the perfect mother, frequently taking her children to parks and play centers. Yet friends said she seemed unable to relax, always busy, always worried. In January 2005, she traveled to India to visit relatives. On returning to London, those who knew her described a marked change. Now she was withdrawn, quiet, almost invisible. As the months passed, the cracks deepened. By early summer, she confided in a friend. She was pregnant for a 3rd time, and confided she was unsure she could manage 3 young children. She was also anxious about the family's financial situation. Then in July 2005, a troubling detail emerged. Her antidepressant prescription had been abruptly changed, a fact that, in hindsight, would cast a dark shadow over what happened next. On the morning of the 31st of August 2005, Navjeet called Manjeet and told him, tearfully, "I'm leaving you. I'm taking the children and going far, far away." Alarmed, Manjeet left work and began searching the neighborhood in his BMW. Navjeet, by now 27 and 4 months pregnant, made her way to Southall Station. She pushed baby Aman Raj in his pram and held 5-year-old Simran's hand. She lingered on a restricted section of the platform, forbidden to the public. At least one security contractor challenged her. She replied calmly that she was showing the children the fast trains. He escorted her off. But after he left, Navjeet returned at 1:20 p.m. That was when she wheeled the pram down to the rails and, with her daughter by her side and baby in her arms, stepped into the path of a 100-mile-per-hour Heathrow Express train. The driver saw her slammed on the brakes but had no time to stop. The force was merciless. Navjeet and her daughter died on impact. Their bodies were so badly mangled that identification of the little girl could only be made by fingerprint. Baby Aman, though alive at first, had suffered catastrophic cranial and bodily trauma. He was rushed to hospital, but succumbed to his injuries just 2 hours later. His broken little body was recovered from the track by his father, who had arrived moments too late. Aftermath and grief too heavy to bear. The death sent shockwaves through the community. Former colleagues from Sunrise Radio, where Navjeet had been known as a bright and capable woman, expressed disbelief. "I never dreamed it might be Navjeet. She was always so happy and cheery," one said. Others recalled the pressures she may have faced as a young Asian mother in a traditional family, balancing cultural expectations, domestic responsibilities, and the intense weight of motherhood. 6 months later, unable to endure the loss, her mother, Satwant Kaur Sodhi, returned to Southall Station again and again, drawn to the place where her daughter and grandchildren died. She would stand for hours, crying, until friends intervened. On the morning of Tuesday, the 21st February 2006, grief overwhelmed her entirely. At 56, she walked to the very tracks that had claimed her daughter and grandchildren and stepped into the path of a fast-approaching train. The driver saw her but again. There was no time. She was killed instantly. The tragedy thus closed a circle of sorrow, 3 lives lost at once, and then a 4th, crushed by grief. From the cold steel tracks of West London, we cross an ocean to the quiet suburbs of Anaheim, California, where another mother, trapped inside her own mind, walks into her garage and turns it into the scene of an unthinkable act. The Cheryl Lynn Massip case. Cheryl Lynn Massip was only 24 when she and her husband welcomed their first child into the world, a baby boy they named Michael. It was March 1987 in Anaheim, California, and the young couple had imagined the usual whirlwind of sleepless nights and tender memories that come with new parenthood. What they received instead was a nightmare. From the moment Michael came home, the infant was overwhelmed by severe colic, not the typical crying fits parents steel themselves for, but a relentless, piercing wail that could last up to 18 hours a day. Doctors repeatedly told Cheryl that her baby was healthy and would soon grow out of it. But the reassurances meant nothing when she went night after night without sleep, unable to eat, unable to think. Her nerves stretched until they felt like live wires. Within weeks, the former beautician was deteriorating. Exhaustion hollowed her out. Her perception warped. And then the psychosis came. According to her later testimony, Cheryl began hearing disembodied voices, sinister whispers insisting that her 6-week-old son was in unbearable pain, that he was suffering, and that only she could end it. Panic-stricken by her own thoughts, she tried to return Michael to the hospital where he had been born, but staff sent her home. No one saw how close to the edge she truly was. On April 29, 1987, in the grip of a full-scale psychotic break, Cheryl made an irreversible decision not out of rage, but from a delusional certainty that she was performing an act of mercy. First, she carried Michael outside and threw him into the path of an oncoming car. The driver, reacting in the final instant, swerved, narrowly avoiding him. That failed attempt didn't break her delusion. If anything, it intensified it. Cheryl calmly gathered the crying infant from the asphalt and carried him into the garage. There, she grabbed a blunt household object, details sealed in later reports, and brought it down onto the baby's tiny skull. The blow caused severe cranial damage on impact, but Michael clung to life, his fragile bones yielding under the force, yet not enough to stop his breathing. Still convinced she had to end his suffering, Cheryl placed the injured newborn behind the rear tire of her car, climbed inside, and reversed. The weight of the vehicle delivered a second, merciless impact, a force that shattered what the earlier strike had not, collapsing the thin parietal region of his skull and driving fractured bone inward. The blow produced an unmistakable, bone-splitting rupture, the kind of structural destruction that leaves no biological path back to survival. She then placed his small body into a nearby trash can. When her husband returned home from work, Cheryl was dazed, drifting in and out of her delusion. She told him their son had been kidnapped. At the police station, the story grew surreal. She described a black object with orange hair and white gloves, something that wasn't a person, as the abductor. But psychosis can be a fast-moving storm, and just as quickly as it came, it began to break. The voices faded. Reality returned. Horrified by what she had done, she confessed. In November 1988, Cheryl Lynn Massip went to trial. Her defense was simple. She had been insane. And arguably, she had been. Every element of her behavior pointed to a woman in the throes of postpartum psychosis, a condition not fully understood at the time. Yet the jury rejected the insanity plea and convicted her of second-degree murder. In a highly unusual move, Superior Court Judge Robert Fitzgerald overturned the jury's verdict. After reviewing psychiatric reports which described Cheryl as profoundly mentally ill at the time of the killing, he declared her not guilty by reason of insanity. Under California law, such a ruling normally carried a mandatory minimum 6-month commitment to a psychiatric institution. But the judge again broke convention. He ruled that Cheryl did not require inpatient treatment. Instead, she would undergo 1 year of intensive outpatient therapy, followed by several structured treatment programs, all of which she completed successfully. She later divorced, remarried, and had a daughter. By all reports, she formed a stable, loving bond with her child, a stark contrast to the tragedy that had defined her early adulthood. In May 2008, at age 45, Cheryl sought a formal court order declaring her fully sane and releasing her from all remaining obligations tied to the case. A respected mental health authority supported her request, stating she no longer needed treatment. But California's suburbia is only the halfway point. Our final descent takes us deep into the rural stillness of East Texas, where a farmhouse backyard under moonlit sky becomes a killing ground marked with stones. The Deanna Laney rock murders. Deanna Laney was not merely devout, she was consumed. A Texas housewife who lived and breathed scripture, she named her 3 sons after biblical figures and allowed her religious beliefs to take on a feverish intensity. As the years passed, her inner world twisted. She believed she was receiving direct messages from God, commands whispered into her mind with divine urgency. Those commands grew darker. According to Deanna, God told her she must kill her sons, that if she resisted, they would meet an even more horrifying fate. She read her Bible obsessively, sometimes for hours without eating, her weight dropping as her mind spiraled. She claimed she smelled sulfur in the house, interpreting it as evidence of the devil lurking nearby. Eventually, she came to believe God was giving her signs that her sons must be killed with rocks. She even hid one inside the baby's room, waiting for the night the command would become impossible to ignore. The night of May 11th, 2003. Deanna put all 3 boys to bed at around 9 p.m. and went to sleep herself. But 2 hours later, something pulled her awake. She rose, walked to 14-month-old Aaron's crib, and retrieved the rock she had hidden there earlier. As the toddler slept, she lifted the stone high and brought it down onto his skull. The impact produced a sickening, hollow thud, a strike that fractured the soft plates of his still-developing cranium. The baby screamed, disoriented and in agony. Her husband stirred and asked what was wrong, but Deanna called back that everything was fine. She pressed a pillow over the child's face to muffle his cries. Astonishingly, Aaron survived, but with lifelong consequences. The blow left him partially blind, with severe motor control impairment, the result of a direct concussive strike to his frontal skull that damaged key regions governing vision and movement. But Deanna was not finished. Leaving the injured infant in his cot, she went to 6-year-old Luke and gently woke him. In a calm voice, she told him to follow her into the backyard. He obeyed. Under the cold Texas night sky, she instructed him to lie down and rest his head on one of the large stones in the family's rock garden. When he complied, she lifted another stone, heavy, jagged, uneven, and swung it downward with full force. The blow smashed into the side of Luke's skull, fracturing the temporal bone and sending splinters of bone inward toward the brain. It was a massive, traumatic injury, but the boy did not die immediately. He struggled, breathing shallowly, his nervous system fighting to hold on. Deanna waited for him to stop moving. When he finally succumbed, she expressed no fear, no grief. She believed God had promised Luke would be resurrected on his birthday 2 months away. She dragged his small body into the shadows and placed a large boulder on his chest, as though marking him for whatever divine purpose she imagined awaited him. Her oldest son, 8-year-old Joshua, was next. She brought him from his bed into the garden, leading him like a mother taking her child out for air, except this walk ended beside his brother's body. There, she lifted another rock and brought it down onto Joshua's skull. The impact crushed the upper portion of the cranial vault, collapsing bone into the brain tissue beneath. It was a single, devastating blow, enough to cause instantaneous, fatal trauma. She dragged him beside Luke and placed another boulder on his chest. By now, the garden was silent, except for the faint nighttime breeze and the distant hum of Texas insects. 2 children lay dead under stones. A third clung to life inside the house. Deanna walked calmly back inside, picked up the phone, and dialed 911. Her voice was steady. She told the operator she had killed her boys.
I just killed my boys.
What is your address?
13664 Arizona Drive.
Where are your boys at?
They're outside.
Outside where, ma'am?
In the front yard.
What did you use?
A rock.
You hit your boys with a rock?
Yes.
When detectives arrived, they found Aaron grievously wounded but alive. Luke and Joshua lay dead beneath the boulders their mother had placed on them like macabre markers of obedience. Asked why she had done it, Deanna replied, "I was told to do this by God." A week later, speaking to a court-appointed psychiatrist, she elaborated, "I know murder is illegal under man's law, but I was answering to a higher authority." During her trial in May 2004, she doubled down on her delusions. "In our faith, we believe the word of God. This word is infallible. I feel the Holy Spirit spring up within me when I speak of Him." She even claimed she expected to become God's witness to the end of time. Her husband, who had promised to stand by her, broke down multiple times as jurors listened to the horrifying details of how his sons died, how their skulls were shattered under stones wielded by the woman who had given them life. After 7 hours of deliberation, the jury found Deanna Laney not guilty by reason of insanity. She was committed indefinitely to a psychiatric hospital. In the aftermath, her brother-in-law, a pastor, offered his own interpretation. He claimed Deanna had been possessed by a demon when she killed the boys. despair, delusion, and divine obsession. 3 paths converge into one devastating conclusion. 3 different mothers, 3 different worlds. A London commuter platform, an Anaheim garage, a Texas backyard under the stars. One crushed beneath the weight of expectation and failed medication, another swallowed by postpartum psychosis, and a third consumed by a faith so warped it turned stones into instruments of supposed salvation. Whether we see them as monsters, victims of untreated illness, or something in between, the outcome is the same children whose last moments were defined by blunt force impact, and families left trying to reconcile love with unforgivable brutality. These cases make us look at past headlines and ask not just what happened, but how many cracks had to form in each life before everything finally gave way. Which is more frightening, the sheer physical impact involved in these killings, or the mental state that allowed a mother to unleash such force without hesitation? Is faith a protective force, a dangerous catalyst, or simply a mirror reflecting a person's deepest fears when their mind begins to unravel? I've presented the 3 crimes. Now, the jury, that's you, delivers your verdict. The case reopens in the comments.
The clock runs out, but the stories don't end. Every case reflects another. Join us again to discover more lives, more secrets, more connected crimes. If you found the stories chilling, hit like, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you won't miss the next episodes.